Hi, and welcome to She's the Boss, the show that is all about female founders and women doing extraordinary things in business. Now, if you like this episode, please will you like it on YouTube as well? Subscribe to the channel and you'll get lots and lots more content. But today I'm really excited about my guest. I have the amazing Erika Cramer, who's also known as the Queen of Confidence. She's an author of a newly released book called Confidence Feels Like Shit. So I'm dying to hear what that's all about. She is also a confidence coach and the host and the producer of the Confidence Chronicles, which is a podcast. So welcome, Erika. It's great to have you on the show.
Hello, Jules. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. Now, let's just start off with, that was such a long list of things that you're doing. Tell me what it is that you're doing right now.
Right now, I'm enjoying not having to write books anymore. We just launched the book last week and it became #1 in Australia, the UK, America, and Canada, which is
out of
crazy.
Town.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I've been crying. That's what I've been doing.
Well, you should be, because I mean, what a huge result. And not only that, it just goes to show how many people want to know about confidence and obviously feel that they're a bit lacking. So talk to me about being the confidence queen. What does that mean?
So basically my work is about helping women stand in their confidence, reclaim it, create it. I think that so many of us think that confidence is something you're born with, or for the lucky ones or the pretty ones or the celebrities or the extroverts. And really confidence is available to all of us. We need to create it. It's uncomfortable as hell. And we need to be willing to do this scary shit in order to get it. So being a confidence coach in 2020 has been interesting because it has been the year where I believe confidence crashed. And so this book couldn't come at a better time because I feel like we're ready to step into 2021 as confidence being our new currency for everyone.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, so did you actually know, I mean, when did you start writing it? Did you do this through the pandemic? So you knew that this was going on? Or is it just serendipity that it's all come together at the same time?
It's definitely serendipity. I'm a psychopath and my husband's always like, you're doing too much. And so we ran 19 live events of our own last year, plus speaking gigs and everything. And so when I got locked down, literally in Melbourne, as you know, I live in Melbourne, we were stuck at home with our toddlers under 5 years old, 2 kids. And I was like, this is a perfect time to write my book. And my husband's like, are you crazy? So I was like, I'm stuck. I can't do anything. We were doing all these virtual, online webinars, trying to support our community because our women were really suffering, especially the mothers in isolation. And then on top of that, COVID. So we were serving for mental health. And then I had some extra time on my hands and I'm like, I'm going to finally write this book. And so we wrote it in that 9-week lockdown and to the soundtrack of Moana and Frozen on the couch with my kids. It was crazy, but it was awesome. I think that time and that pressure, I wanted to get it done by the end of November. And I had no idea that we would be out of lockdown or any of that. I just thought free time, let's get this done or else it's never going to happen. And it just so happened to work out.
Well, congratulations, because it's great to achieve something in this year, because it has been a very challenging year for a hell of a lot of people. So talk to me about, why did you start why did you start being called the Queen of Confidence? Why did you set this all up? What had happened?
So I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts in America, and my mother was bipolar, single mother. She did an amazing job considering, what was going on for her. I grew up in foster care. She grew up in mental hospitals. There was a lot of sexual abuse. I was kidnapped by my dad when I was 7. I broke my back when I was 23 and had to be in the hospital. Oh
my goodness.
Yeah, there's all this stuff.
Yeah, so I am actually, as soon as we talk about what you're doing now and why you've done it, I'm going to take you right back and see if you'll tell us that amazing story.
It's kind of connects. Yeah, it's weird. So I guess I became the Queen of Confidence because I was in Australia styling, and then I ended up going, it doesn't matter what women wear or how we look. If we look in the mirror and still think we're not good enough and we hate ourselves, we need to worry about the inner wardrobe, the inner thoughts and feelings, and cull that instead of worrying about shoes and are you an apple or a pear?
Perfect. I'm with you. Yep, absolutely.
And so I thought, I'm not going to do any more styling workshops. I'm not going to work at this job anymore. I'm going to quit that and go into this because I really want to talk about the inner confidence. And so that's how it was the Queen of Curves originally.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I had a lot of my thin friends go, oh, can you do events for girls that aren't curvy? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no way. It's not about excluding anyone.
No.
It was about inclusion. So I thought, what is something all women want? They want confidence. So we just changed the name to the Queen of Confidence. And she's my alter ego. So I'm not her. We are all her. I believe we all have her inside of us when we allow ourselves to pull her out. So that's kind of where the name came from.
I think that is brilliant. And I know that as somebody who everybody thinks is confident, I always get that all the time.
Yeah.
So much of it is pushing through. Yeah. So much of it is going, I'm absolutely shitting myself inside, but I'm going to go for it anyway. And then, you know, things just kind of pan out. Yeah. But you're right. There's just that awful moment where you think, can I brazen this out? Before I sort of calm down a bit on the inside. So, okay, you have obviously got the most incredible backstory. So can you take me back to when you were a little girl and take me through that whole story? I know it sounds like it's very traumatic, so I'm sorry that I'm making you go through it, but it just sounds like it's so inspiring for you to have got to where you are now. So go Jules, for it.
I've really worked a lot with this. I spent 8 years and $110,000 plus and counting working on self-development. So we've hashed it out many times. And now I'm in a place where I talk about it from a place of empowerment versus a place of the wound is open and not healed.
Oh, great.
So, and I'm grateful to all of it, the bad, all of it. So like I said, I grew up in Boston to a bipolar single mother, and she would get sick. So after 3 days of not taking medication, she would get really paranoid and really manic. At the time she was young. Right. Yeah. And I feel like manic comes when you're young in some people, and the depression when you get older. Right. So she would be physically abusive, and the police would come and the neighbors would call the police, and I would go to a home and she would end up in a mental hospital.
Oh, Erika, did you have any brothers or sisters, or you were an only child?
Only child. Yeah.
So no one to lean on through this.
Yeah, no one. And our family was very estranged. My dad left when I was 2, and he went off and had like 7 other children. So I'm one of 8 with him.
Wow.
Who I haven't met half of them. Right. And there was a whole crazy story. So my dad left when I was 2. And then at 7 years old, we went to Puerto Rico, which is where our family's from, in the Caribbean, for a holiday. And so my mom didn't take enough medication, and she got ill, and she jumped in a car and we smashed into a tree. And it was this crazy car accident where we almost died.
Was it intentional? I mean,
she thought someone was following us.
Oh, God.
She had some paranoia going on, you know? And I had my seatbelt, thankfully. So didn't she, but we smashed and flipped upside down. My mom escaped the scene and walked with me for 3 days. So the day, the night, we're walking, our shoes broke. We slept in cars. We slept on, on ledges. It was crazy. And I was 7, so I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Finally, what had happened was my dad ended up coming and taking me away from, I didn't know who he was, and he just took me. I'm like,
oh, you didn't remember him? You hadn't had any contact with him?
No, I didn't know him. I'm like, you're the guy in the photo that I keep scratching his face, because I had done that for no reason. My mom never spoke bad of him, but I had done that. And so I recognized him, and he kept me in Puerto Rico for a year. So he kidnapped me, took me away from my mom for a year.
Oh my goodness.
And that was insane.
Did he look after you during that time?
He was an alcoholic at the time, but he did look after me, but he was just not stable. So this child, I have kids now, I think about, I had no stability. I was jumping from home to home, sexual abuse in the foster care system. And then my dad, who I didn't know, kidnapped me. I'm stuck in another country with another language. So I came back home after a year.
How did you get found? Or did your dad just own up to it?
No, my mom just continued to message, and she was in the hospital. She continued to call the services, and his brother lived in Boston with where my mom lived, and they were really good friends. And he said, listen, you got to let her go. Her mom needs her. She's got nobody here but her daughter. And my mom just always fought for me. That's why she's my hero. She's amazing. And
wow, she sounds amazing.
He came and got me. Yeah, so my uncle came and got me, and my dad let me go, and I stayed with my mom. And I had to learn English again, which was crazy. And then when I was 16, I was in foster care from 2 weeks old until 16. And at 16, I said, that's it. I'm not doing it again.
So hang on a minute, though. If you're in foster care for that long, how did you see your mum? Was she just a visitor?
In and out.
So you did get to spend clumps of time with her?
Yeah, so twice a year she would get sick.
How unsettling for you, my goodness.
But as a kid, you know what, Jules? As a kid,
you don't know any different.
I loved it. I was like, I get to stay with people with money and go to camps, because I lived in the poor side. We were on welfare and food stamps, and we're Latin, and we would go live with, rich white people on the other side of town.
Get to see how the other half lives.
YMCA camp, and live with kids of other cultures, Black kids, Spanish kids, Asian kids, handicapped children, autistic children. So I felt like it really built my community mindset, which I now have community. I love that. So
And an acceptance of all types of people. I mean, we talk about diversity and it's a very trendy word, but the reality is we're all people and 100%. We all need a shot. We all need a chance at life. So
yeah, and it was good to be with different cultures and different beliefs and upbringing. So I kind of was raised by that, raised by wolves kind of thing. I didn't have...
You were, literally.
You know, I was just like this home, that home. And I went to every foster home and every school in my town. So I continuously moved. I love strangers still. And I think that's why, you know, so the sexual abuse was hard, but I don't think I knew that at the time. It was more when I was 12 years old, when I knew 10 or 11 years old, when I knew my mom was getting sick, and I started to realize, oh, she's getting paranoid, and there she is, and now I have to watch her. And she would just do crazy stuff, like walk down the street naked, or crazy stuff. And it was just crazy.
I don't know what to say, because I kind of love it in some ways as well.
I know.
She's
but
just threw off all her inhibitions.
Just here we go. And it was unsafe. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And then I'm fighting because kids are making fun of my crazy mom, air quotes. And so I'm fighting on the playground. So the whole thing was bad, school, all of it. And at 16, the military came to my school. And they had said, if you sign up for the Army when you graduate high school, we'll pay for 4 years of any college or university.
Wow, great opportunity.
So I thought, I'm going to go to college, which I didn't like college, but I thought I needed to.
Right.
And I knew my grades were crap, and I knew that my mom had no money. It was like, this is my only chance. So I signed up for the Army at 16 years old.
Wow. Do you know, my dad did the same thing to get through medical school when he was about 18 until he was about late 30s, I think he was in the Army.
Yeah.
But it is a great way, you know, when you don't have a lot of money, to get that college education or to get 100%. That vocational course. So 16 though, very young.
Yeah. So that was I graduated at 17, like late 17 years old. I was almost 18 and I graduated, and my high school trip was boot camp. So my friends are going on their happy high school trips and I'm going to boot camp. And it was so crazy because my high school sweetheart joined the Marines and I joined the Army. So he went off and I went off. Yeah. And halfway through boot camp, it was 1 month in, and they put us in this room with a television, and we hadn't seen a television in months. And we're like, what is this? They turn on the TV and the towers were getting hit.
Oh my goodness. Right.
What a time to join the freaking military. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. God.
Yeah, it was. I was like, is this like a drill? Like, what is going on? And instantly, Jules, the military, like boot camp changed. They were like, okay, you're all going to go to war. Like, they were much more caring and thoughtful versus just yelling and screaming at us to scare us. They were really like, okay, these kids are going to go to war. We're going to have to teach you. This is how you hold the weapons. This is what you do. And so it just was like, is this real right now?
It just felt. I mean, I'm sure anyone watching this who was around when the Twin Towers went down will remember exactly what they were doing. But it felt like the end of the world at the time, didn't it? I mean, especially when the towers went down, then you realize it's real. And then they went for the Pentagon. They went for the, you know, it was just freaky.
Scary. Yeah. And then the drill sergeants, who were like these big, scary, typical looking military drill sergeants, are crying and sobbing and wailing in the room. And we're like, oh my God, what is happening right now? Because they had family in the towers and who knows what's going to happen. So that really shifted a lot for us, because that was the moment our country went to war. And our generation, you know, I was born in 83. We didn't know anything about war. Like, really, we didn't know anything. Yeah. So long story short, I ended up moving I ended up getting married to my high school sweetheart in secret. We moved to California. He was in the Marines. So the Marines are the first to go and the last to come back. So he went to war. And I waited in California as his wife, and no one knew that. My family didn't know. He came back, and I felt so bad that he hadn't lived. He went high school to war and came back. So we moved across the country to Florida so he could go to school and I was going to go full time and work. So I basically paused my life waiting for him. And then he came back and I said, it's all about you. Again, pausing my life. And I joined the Army 9 to 5 in Florida. I was in my, Army uniform, working in the office, doing admin stuff. Right. And I decided to go to hair school. So this is where the whole confidence and caring about women and loving how they look came in.
And hang on a minute. Why did you go to hair school? I'm assuming it might be something to do with not having anything in the Army environment that encouraged, that fun girly stuff.
Yeah, they were actually okay. Like, I could wear like mascara and stuff, but you couldn't have your hair down and all that. But I had always loved that. Like in school, I'd always did makeup and hair for my friends, prom night, all that. And I just thought, I'm not going to go to college. I'm not interested in college. What the hell am I going to do with my life? I wanted to be an actress and that didn't work out. So I was like, I'm going to go to hair school. And maybe I can do J-Lo's hair or something. That was my plan B.
It's like in Greece, the beauty school dropout, that girl.
That was
anyway.
That was her. I was her. And I'm like, okay. So I was in the army in the daytime, 9 to 5. And then I would go to hair school at night, which is a whole nother world. And my husband at the time, who no one knew was my husband, was going to school to do music production. And one night when we first moved there, I turned 21 in Florida, which like Miami, Orlando area. Yeah. And I was 23 years old, and we went out on a Saturday night. We had no money. His parents had given him this really fast car for his welcome back from Iraq tour gift.
Right.
And
so no money, but a fast car.
Yeah, a fast car, very expensive fast car that has no chips. So it doesn't stop the speed. It just goes to the ultimate speed.
Right.
And we went to a bar. We had no money, but they had a VIP area. And they said, come and have a drink with us. We're like, listen, we have barely any petrol to get there, but let's go. What do you do when you're young? Dumb stuff that you do. And we left that bar intoxicated as all hell. Like we were so drunk. We drove back home. So my husband's driving.
Yep.
His friend is in the front and I get in the back. And to any of the women listening to this is what we do. We look after everyone else but ourselves. Yes. And I wasn't a mother at the time. It's not a mother thing. It's a
female thing.
We're nurturers. This. I know. Yeah. We nurture. So I'm sitting in the middle with no seatbelt, drunk as a skunk, telling them to put their seatbelts on, demanding they put their seatbelts on as I'm going to hover in the middle, watching over them. And what happens? We all fall asleep. I have no seatbelt on. We're going 240 kilometers an hour.
No.
The max speed. We run through a red light. I wake up. Everybody's asleep. I wake up and go, oh my gosh, we're going really fast towards this ditch. They're knocked out. We end up hitting a ditch, turning sideways. So the boot was going towards where I was going towards the ditch. We hit a tree, smashed us into a van. We smashed into a convenience store and I was ejected.
Oh my God, Erika.
I was ejected out and landed on the wing of the car and halfway in the van, and I broke my back and I shattered my left ankle. My husband was in a coma for 12 hours and we were just airlifted out. And it was the most craziest thing because I had no seatbelt on. And so I was in the hospital for 30 days on a morphine pump. I had to get titanium all over my body.
So where did you break your back? It obviously not in the bit that paralyzes you, which is thank God.
Thank God. He said, and I wrote about this in the book. He's like, a little bit more to the left, you would have been in a wheelchair. And I'm like, wow, holy crap. Him saying that to me was the wake up. It was like, and I should know better.
And you've been given another chance. You've got a chance now to really go and sort of do something with this life that you have escaped by a hair's breadth becoming.
Literally.
Yeah.
It was horrible. So my mom's accident, that was really bad. But this one, when we looked at the car, we went back to check the car. The guy said, I'm so sorry for your loss. And we're like, what do you mean? He's like, the people that were in this car couldn't have survived. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, we were the people in this car. And he was like, we lost all 4 doors, all 4 tires, the roof flew
Did the
off.
other 2 people that were in the back seat with you survive as well?
So I was the only one in the back seat. My husband was driving.
Okay.
He had a seatbelt and his friend that I told him put a seatbelt on. So his friend had a fractured rib. My husband had smashed his head against the store. So he had a coma, but then he was fine. Like 12-hour coma. Fine.
So lucky.
I was ruined. Yeah. Right. Because I flew out. I had no seatbelt. So that was crazy. And learning how to walk again and trying to, I was 23. I looked crazy. I was swollen. My regrowth was out of control. I was blonde back then. And I just felt like crap.
I can't believe you just said that.
It's true.
How long was the recuperating period or rehabilitation?
So the hospital was 27 days. And so I might as well have just been blacked out because that was horrible. But then it was about 3 months. Because when you're 23, it's not too bad. If you're 40, good luck. That's going to take forever. Yeah. So I was walking with a walker and then I was doing my own rehab because I was hard-headed and I didn't want to go to rehab. So I did it myself. And maybe 4 months after that, I started being able to do, it was about 3-4 months. But
you are so lucky and obviously really dedicated because I'm sure, for a lot of people, it would have taken a lot longer to be able to get back to walking. It was
crazy. And that's where the confidence thing started because I had regrowth and the women know I was pale and swollen. Yeah, I felt like crap, and when you feel like crap, you do crappy actions, you don't want to do anything. So I said to my husband at the time, take me to get my hair done, take me to the solarium because back then that's what we did. I had like this crazy vest and moon boot in the solarium. The ladies looking at me like, you are dedicated. And it made me feel a little bit better. I put lipstick on. It was so silly, but it made me feel good.
It is those little things, isn't it? I rarely wear lipstick except for these kind of interviews, and it always makes me feel kind of grown up.
Yeah, you're like, hey, watch out. You know, you shiny
That's
lips.
Right. That's right.
And so that was just, and then I said, okay, this is my wake up call. I thought that was my wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, here we go. I'm going to try to do my acting or my modeling or something. And so I started from my bedside table, emailing photographers and emailing magazines and setting up photo shoots. And it was hilarious, Jules, because I was in the Army 9 to 5. At night, I went to hair school. And on the weekends, I was driving to Miami to do music videos with like rappers and Pitbull and magazine bikini covers. And
wow.
It went off. It was weird. It just was this thing. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I'm a part-time model, full-time soldier, and, you know, hair school, beauty school person.
An accident survivor twice.
Seriously, it was crazy. And then the following year, we had a party for the 5th of May, which is like Cinco de Mayo, American kind of Mexican holiday that we do. We had a party at home. We were not drinking and driving anymore. Of course not, because we almost died. And we had our friends over, and I needed to go to sleep because once a month, the Army has like a one weekend thing. Right. So you can't be late to the Army. You got to be there on time or you get in lots of trouble. So I was like, I'm going to bed. You guys keep drinking and doing your thing. I'm going to go to sleep. We were in our own home.
Yeah.
When I woke up in the morning, my husband wasn't there next to me. And I'm like, oh, what is going on? And I was late. So I'm rushing. I can't find him. He had rang me, but he didn't leave a voicemail or a text message. So I'm like, I have to go. His friends are at my house passed out. I'm like, guys, wake up, find Gio. His name is Giovanni.
Just text me and let me know he's okay.
Yeah, like let me know. Like, go, I'm gonna be late. But I never thought anything bad had happened.
No.
Maybe fell asleep in the car or he's at a friend's house, whatever. So it ends up he had left that night to give someone a key or something, and we weren't doing that. So he must have been really drunk in order to go, because we were not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
It was 11 o'clock, and I told my Army boss that I couldn't find him. I was calling his phone. It kept ringing. I said, listen, it's raining. And I just felt like my husband wasn't okay. I just felt that feeling. You know,
so it's 11 in the morning at that
11
stage?
a.m. Yeah.
Right.
So I left at 7 a.m. It was 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to find him. I said, I have to go. I told her what happened. She goes, oh my God, go.
Yeah.
And I went back home, and we had a call from the hospital at 7 a.m. that I must have missed when I was on my way out.
Right.
But the hospital called me every day because we owed $120K from the accident the year before.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm calling the hospital. They're like, listen, why don't you just come in? We don't talk about anything over the phone. Just check and see if he's here. It was very nonchalant, you know?
Yeah.
And I was driving there, and I get there, and they put me in one of those rooms where they give you the news, and they told me that he passed away.
What had happened?
Yeah, so he had left and drunk and was driving and hit a little ditch and a grass plane. Like he hit grass. He hit nothing. He didn't have a seatbelt on, which is not, it wasn't like him. I now
Erika.
go, he had to, that must have been his time, because I mean, we didn't drink and drive anymore. He wasn't meant to leave. We're in the safety of our home, and he had no seatbelt, and he hit nothing. I mean, his car
flipped. And it's only a
flipped.
year since he's had an accident, so you would think he would at least have put on the seatbelt.
100%.
But, you know, when you're pissed and you're young.
Exactly.
You know, don't think about it. Erika, I'm so sorry.
It. Yeah, that was the,
So your whole world caved in right then.
100%. And I had too much trauma, too much sexual abuse, too much stuff, too much, all the things. And I'm like, I'm done. Like I wanted to just like, I'm done. I can't do this. I am going to protect myself and just pretend nothing happened. And I kept drinking. I got into bad relationships. I was just numb for like 5 years. And I met a man in Vegas at a hair conference who was from Australia. Right. And that's what brought me here. He was not a nice man, but at the time I thought he was a nice man.
Right.
And it brought me to Australia. I was in that relationship for about 11 months, met another person who was also similar to the same guy, brought me to Melbourne. And then I met my husband, who was my personal trainer, who was like Mr. Personal Development and Spirituality, and really sweet and lovely, and introduced me to this work. And, you know, long story short, I started working on myself after 8 years and all this money. Right. I was like, oh my God, I want to do this. And so that's the whole shebang.
Wow. That is incredible. So it was at that stage. So why did you start calling it Queen of Curves at first? Yeah.
So when I came here and I met Hamish and we started working on ourselves, I joined a business mentoring group, and everyone's like, are you a stylist? Are you a stylist? You look amazing. Are you a stylist? And I'm like, no, but maybe I need to make a stylist business. Okay. I was looking for a business to make, because I was in this business group, as we do, young people, and we think we need to be entrepreneurs because that's what everybody's doing. And I didn't have a damn business, and I'm in a business group paying all this money to get mentored. And so I started this styling, and it was awesome because it was like hairdressing, but for the clothing. So I had always had this kind of, I want to make women feel good and look good.
Yeah.
But I kept doing it externally. So I started the business. It was actually called 7 Seconds because you have 7 seconds when you first meet someone.
Yes, that's true. To make an impression.
Yeah. So I did that. I was on Sunrise for that. That was an awesome article that came out, and I was styling, and that kicked everything off. And then I changed it to the Queen of Curves because I started realizing, you niche down into what's a problem.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem was my women that were curvy. I was a size 10 at the time, but I was in the plus size. I broke into the plus size industry. I was helping curvy women find clothing that suited them.
Oh, thank you. Because, as a curvy woman myself as well, it is really hard. And there's a lot of people that if they don't really understand fashion, make terrible choices
100%.
and then feel worse about themselves rather than looking fabulous.
Yeah. So I, as my foster childness loves community, I started doing one-on-one styling, and I was like, you know what? This is the same problem, but you have a different body shape, but it's the same thing. So I'm like, we need to do an event. So then I started doing events. So it moved really quickly to group
And what did you do at the events? What were you teaching people?
So it was called Styling Confidently.
Right.
And it was very easy. And we would have champagne, and we would talk about the body shapes and how to highlight the parts that you love and downplay the parts you don't. And I would get brands to come in. Yeah, it was awesome. And brands would come in, 17 Sundays, or like Harlow, the curvy brands would come in and bring clothing, and the women would try stuff on, and we'd be like, oh, you look amazing. And they could shop. And it was just this beautiful, fun event. And I would sprinkle in personal development exercises because I was on my own journey at the time. Yeah. And so it became this like styling event with champagne, and then women crying about their thoughts and beliefs. And I'm like, what is happening? It's like turning into, the inner wardrobe, the inner peeling of the onion of course,
because if you change the outside, it can bring stuff up from the inside as well.
100%.
So were they kind of going, I know there's an amazing photographer I know who specializes in helping curvy women get beautiful shots of themselves. Awesome. And the tears that flow from these women going, I never thought I was beautiful. Until this moment, I didn't know. It's giving me goosebumps now thinking about it. So that's what you were doing for women.
Yeah, it was really nice. And it was community. So I would say, look, put that on, and Jules would go to the change room, and there was beautiful, it was at the Westfield Styling Suite. So they had change rooms, and there would be women in there changing and trying stuff on, and other women going, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. And it wasn't a salesperson, because they lie a lot.
Yes,
and so unfortunately, it was peer, what's the word called? Like encouragement from peers, from other women. And they would go, you know what? I never wear this, but I'm going to get it. And I don't know, like that just spoke to me that when you feel seen and validated and understood by others just like you, and that we are all the same, even though we look different. And I'm like, I love this. And they sold out. It went bananas. It went crazy. I did that for maybe 2 years. And when I had my second son, I had a crazy cesarean emergency situation with my first. Then we had a miscarriage, and then I had a home birth, a beautiful, delicious.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was so powerful. It was like a 8-hour meditation. And then that home birth really kind of,
I just have to laugh and say that having a baby, you're the first woman ever that I've heard say it was like having an 8-hour meditation.
Yes.
That's hilarious. It was that good.
The first was crazy.
Yeah.
I was so powerful though. I just went in my body. I didn't give a shit about anybody around me. It wasn't about the baby. It wasn't about anybody. I was just with myself, doing what I needed to do, making my cow sounds, dark, light. I was just beautiful. And I just let my body do what it needs to do. I have confidence that my body knows what to do. Dogs don't doubt their ability to birth. Dogs don't compare themselves to that hair and that dog.
No,
they're just freaking dogs. And I think we just too much head. So I did what my body knew how to do. My husband's like, that's when you really became very powerful in regards to your self-belief. And I didn't realize, but I was in the shower, and my son was 2 months old, and I got this voice, as we get the shower wisdom, I call it, it's like everything comes in the shower. And it said to me, what does the Queen of Confidence do? She doesn't talk about cotton and horizontal stripes and bananas and pears. She talks about confidence. And it was like, I don't want to talk about cotton. I don't give a shit about clothes. I actually like, it was a pain in the ass to research. Is it linen or cotton that leaves the, I was like, every time I had to do an event, it was like, I have to do that. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to talk about the thoughts and the feelings and the inner wardrobe.
And how beauty comes from the inside with confidence, and it's funny because when they do those kind of research in, amongst men about what's attractive about women, confidence is nearly always the top of the list. And yet we don't even think about it.
I know. They don't say, I love pink lipstick. They don't actually,
or I like
don't
people
makeup.
with a thigh gap.
Yeah. Who made that up? I know, it's true.
I know, it's insane.
I just was like, I'm going to listen to that intuition, because I hadn't listened to so many things, and I was working a job I didn't love. And I had 2 kids now, and I'm like, I want to go do this. I have this crazy life story. I want to share it. I want to talk to women to empower them to actually stand in confidence. And so I ran downstairs half wet with my towel going, okay, honey, I'm not going to do styling anymore. And we had an event booked February 25th, 2018, I believe. I was like, I'm going to refund the women. These events were selling out now. I had quit my job because I was on maternity leave. Hamish's gym, my husband's gym, had been dead because it was Christmas. We had moved into a big house. We bought a new car. We had no money. No money.
Just
I was
the perfect
lowest
time to decide to start a new business. Why not?
And my husband's looking at me like, are you crazy? He's an accountant's son. So he's just like trying not to have a stroke, looking at me like, oh my gosh, what? And I said, I can't do it anymore. I can't work at that job. I can't style. I want to do this. It was probably the worst time, but I knew it was the time. I was like, I have a guarantee in myself that I can put myself out there and I can build this business. I will get a little side job that I can do from home while I'm breastfeeding and building my business, but I just can't do it anymore. And so we were literally looking for coins to buy bread one day. And he's like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, trust me, I'm going to do this. My American grit and resilience is going to hustle.
And your past. I mean, my goodness, if anyone knew how to pick themselves up and dust themselves off and make it work, it was going to be you.
Yeah, I said, we got to do this. So I rang all the women who booked tickets and I said, I'm going to refund you because I'm not doing styling anymore. I'm doing confidence. I'm doing confidence events.
And did they all turn around and say, book us in anyway, we'll stick with you?
They were like, well, I need confidence if you're going to dress nice. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you, universe. Like, that was my first sign of like, because it was a bit funny back then to do personal development workshops and like master classes. Like Tony Robbins made it cool, but like it still wasn't mainstream. Women weren't going, I'm going to a confidence masterclass to be more confident, It's a bit shame doing that. So I'm like, I don't care, I'm doing it. And that's when I launched everything. I launched a YouTube channel that I only did 40 days straight. And then I did like, weekly or monthly, but I did 40 days straight, which was great for discipline.
So what were you doing? What were you doing in the YouTube channel?
Just a vlog. It's a vlog, and it's still there, which is great because I know that when I end up on Oprah's couch, it's going to have 1 million views because I literally filmed me overweight, exhausted from motherhood, no money, crying, going, holy shit, I want to build a podcast. I want to build a business. And now we're like 2 years and 4 months. We have a book that's bestseller. We have a podcast with almost 1 million downloads. And that was 2.5 years ago. And it was real. Like, I wanted to document my becoming because no one has that. You see someone going, oh, it was hard for me back then. But I'm like, show me. I want to see myself in your story. So I wanted to show it,
Brilliant.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And I just did it because that's all we could do. I listened to Gary Vaynerchuk every day. Like, he was on my headphones. It was my soundtrack to this disaster. And we started doing our confidence events and women started coming. And then I started selling one-on-one coaching. And that was good. I sold it for nothing. Obviously, I didn't price myself properly. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I was scared because I said, do I need to go to coaching school? Do I need to go get certified? And that's what you do. You go to imposter syndrome. And my husband said something to me that was so powerful. He's like, you have paid $110,000 combined with me, on credit cards and refinancing his home. And we had no money. So it's not like we had parents paying for shit. We had no money. We put it on loans. We did horrible stuff with finances and credit cards. But at the end of the day, I needed to pay and do that because I had a lot of shit to clean up. I had a messy past, a lot of anger and beliefs that were not helping me. And after 8 years of working on me, I wanted to then teach women. And he said, you got this. I went to my coach. She's like, honey, you got my blessing. Like, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be you. You've got it. You've walked the walk. You're the result of it. And so I thought it was really important because he said, you won't attract anyone that you can't help. where you
Very
are.
true, very true.
Yeah.
But tell me, I'm really interested that everyone was so supportive. Did you have anyone saying, oh, who are you to think that you can do this? You shouldn't be doing this. You should be sticking with styling, little woman?
No, I didn't have anybody say that.
Right,
because
you're
I
lucky
think,
because a lot of people get family members and people like that
100%.
kind of go, don't do it. But if you know that you're on the right path, you know you're on the right path. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't have family. I was from America. So all I had was my husband and my friends that I developed. And they all knew my history. They knew I always, you know, they knew how much I invested. And we joined these programs and went on retreats. I was developing myself. I wasn't interested in learning to teach others, which I think a lot of young coaches do now. And I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. I think I don't agree with it. I think
a bit fake.
Yeah, it's just like you're so excited about helping other people, but you still have to work through your shit. And when you work through it and you genuinely have got the result of it, people see that. You don't need to say it. They can see it. You model it. You're the example of it. And then they go, wow, can you help me? So yeah, that was how it started.
Amazing. So why did you call the book Confidence Feels Like Shit? Yes. Why does it feel so bad or why have you chosen that as your headline?
Yeah. So the full thing is Confidence Feels Like Shit, the truth about confidence and what it really takes to create it. So yeah, I think that confidence, women especially look at it as the gold star.
Right.
And once I'm confident, then
everything will happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or if I was just like her, she's confident. And so it's very one-sided when we talk about confidence. You don't get to see the 3D version of it. So I like to tell people that when you are doing something that's going to require you to step into or create confidence, you're usually shitting yourself. As you said earlier, you know, you're usually doubting yourself. Am I going to be good? What am I going to wear? What if I look stupid? What if the audio cuts out? Oh, shit. It's all very scary. And you need to step into courage. You need to back yourself. You need to actually be willing to be made fun of, feel guilt, shame, fuck it up, mess up, you know, have people point the finger at you.
Be human.
All of that. So, but they're not nice things. Like when someone disagrees with you or makes fun of you or criticizes you or you fail publicly, like that doesn't really feel good to people. So we want to feel good. And I'm like, confidence doesn't feel good when you're creating it. It feels like shit. It feels good when you do it.
Yeah.
You know, wow, Jules, you have a TV channel. Wow. And you're like, I wish you could see the shit show
that's right.
the day before we started filming or 5 minutes before we went on camera.
Well, that's right. I mean it's nice to show reality as well, I think. And there's a lot of women that don't necessarily want to show that and make it look easier or make things appear to be easier. And we've got to say, it's not always easy. You've got to get your shit together, basically, and just kind of keep going.
And it's a hot mess. And so I want to tell people, and in the book I talk a lot about, are you willing to experience these emotions? Are you willing to experience shame, guilt, messing up, being made fun of, your parents disapproving of you, society saying you're not good enough? Are you willing to do that? Because if you are, then you are able to create confidence. But you don't get to go to Confidence Town without walking through the shitty jungle of crap, you know, like it's a shit jungle.
I love that little analogy.
And then you get to Confidence Town, but you will definitely get, you know, poo on your face from a monkey or you'll trip over on some bushes and you're not going to come out unscathed. You're going to be wrecked. And then you stand on stage with your pink cape on going, hi, everybody. And they're like, wow, you're amazing. And I'm like,
superwoman.
Let me show you what I just went through, you know? So I want to tell people the reality is that it's very hard to be confident. It's hard to be a confident woman and be perceived as confident because you're putting yourself out there constantly. You're taking risks. You're doing things that are so scary and you have no idea what's going to happen, but you're putting yourself out there. And because you're in and I talk about confidence in the book as a practice. So no one is confident. No one can say I'm confident. It's like you're confident and then a bird shits on your head and where's your confidence?
That's right.
You know, it's like, it's a practice. So it's a continuous.
Yeah, it's a mindset. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So because this show is for other women who either are in business, but a lot of them I think would be thinking about it. I always like to touch on those challenging times that we have in our businesses where you just kind of think, shit, what am I going to do? Everything's kind of fallen in a heap a little bit. Have you had moments like that, particularly in the last couple of years when you've been building the Queen of Confidence? Have you had moments where you've gone, oh my God, you know, I was really counting on that client or that event or whatever, and it hasn't worked and you've learned from it or you've pivoted or you've moved in a different direction
100%.
and looked back and gone, as we all do. God, I'm so glad that happened to me, because otherwise I never would have got to where I am now.
Yes, I have this year, 2020. So I run
this year.
Of course,
Yeah.
I run a group coaching program. It's kind of like a mastermind, but it's a group coaching in Melbourne, and we do 6 live events. It's called a sisterhood, and
I love the name.
Yeah, the sisterhood, because I was like, easy. It's just women getting together. So it's 6 live events. So we have to have a venue and do 6 topics a year. We also have it online. So the online version, as you can imagine, is very easy. There are modules. It's evergreen. I show up live on a Zoom. They salivate. We have a great time. You know, we enjoy ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
In the other group, it's live in-person venues, workbooks, printing, all that jazz. So when COVID hit, we had one event, February 9th this year. We had our first event, and then we had no more events. And so my online program we got 60 new members in COVID because people wanted to work on themselves. Yeah. And we offered a monthly payment plan because of COVID. And then the Melbourne Sisterhood, which we have 77 members, were like at home in Melbourne lockdown, freaking out, you know, no community. And it was so difficult. And I realized at that time how I had put all my eggs in the basket of what I was doing. I had tunnel vision, and I was dedicating my life to this thing.
Right.
I fell in love with my product, which we know is not a good idea, right? And I'm like, shit. So we came out of it. I attended Tony Robbins' UPW virtual. And I'm like, wow, this guy has created an event on a Zoom, a warm up, a dance, a music, a giveaway, fun stuff. And I'm like, right, we're going to rejig this. We're going to turn this lemon around. And basically we got workbooks printed. We did some snail mail. We did giveaways in the books. We put little numbers so the women would have to jump on the Zoom. We did virtual Sisterhood Day events. And not only that, but I got to see how I could transform my business next year into, instead of just being so tunnel vision about how it needs to be and how it needs to look. I thought I was going to go travel. I was in a global tour when this hit. I was in America in February and in the Byron Bay. So we had done events around the world. And I thought this year I'm going to do all these events and pay all this money to go out all over the world and do events. And there was another plan.
The universe had another plan for you.
Yes, girl. I was like, oh, I'm so angry. And so I think what happened was we saw, and Tony Robbins talks about it, we had the shock. And then we had the anger and the frustration. And then we had the sadness and the grieving. And then we had the acceptance, you know, and he talks about how those are the steps. And I didn't want to get stuck in those steps. So what we did was we started doing free virtual webinars for managing your mind for people, just complimentary, because people were struggling. My husband's a meditation teacher. So we just went, let's serve. Let's serve our asses off. Let's be the people who serve. We ended up doing that. We ended up doing fundraisers for our women that were struggling to pay our payments in America, in Australia. And then I said to him, we're going to do virtual events. And next year, if and when we can have live events, we're going to live stream. So this year, it was great. Yeah. So this year that happened.
Because one of the great things about when you go online is that you realize your market, you can get to all those regional women, and you can get to all those women that can't get to events. They may be stuck at home with the young kids, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, you know, it has been a gift in a lot of ways, in that we can, as you say, serve, but serve women everywhere instead of just the local ones.
Year. Yeah, it's been my best year, like my favorite year. Like 2020 has been my year. I'm like, I made 2020 my bitch. It's great.
I'm with you. It's done that for me as well.
I know. So you can just go, okay, what can we do? And I think the thing I always tell people to say is like, what can I do? And we focus on, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's like, okay, we know that. What can I do? Yeah. Okay. When I ask myself, what can I do? I'm like, I could do this. I could try this. I ended up launching a business mastermind for 6 women. I wanted to take 6 women under my wing and basically show them how we went from literally cannot buy bread to 159,000 in our first year to 510,000 in our second year. Like we did that. And I'm like, shit, this little poor girl from Boston who had no money beliefs, a welfare child. I had, you know, I built this myself. We built this with community and social media and authenticity. And these women, I took them under my wing in June, right before the financial year. They all paid $10,000 to be with me in this mastermind. So in June, we made 60 grand. So I'm like, okay, this is a possibility. When I'm not so focused on, I have to do this, I have to do this, my eyes open up to, I can still
other
serve
options.
Virtually. Yeah. I can launch a mastermind and I'm going to write my book. And all of this happened. And I got to interview my biggest mentor in my world yesterday, which was like mind-blowing. I got to interview her on Zoom.
Who is it?
Byron Katie. She's like a 77-year-old. She's kind of like a Deepak Chopra.
Okay.
She created something called The Work, and it's like 4 questions about inquiring your thoughts. She, like, Oprah's interviewed her. Oprah loves her. She's like this little beautiful 77-year-old white-haired grandma, love her. And she was divine. And I sobbed the whole time. Like, she's my highest mentor, you know, like, I'm like,
wow, that
my
is
years
fantastic.
can't get any better, you know? So
yep.
yeah, I think that when you look at what can you do versus what you can't do, and you focus on serving your clients, and you focus on what's a better way to do it now that I can't do X, Y, Z, you know, that's innovation. And for me, innovation means how can I serve better? Like,
yeah,
it's serving.
And it's also not sitting. I mean, there have been people that I know have been sitting out this period waiting for it all to get back to normal. But we've got a new normal now anyway. Mm-hmm. So, look, I love absolutely everything that you've been doing, Erika. I love your story. You are the most amazing guest. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jules.
Can you tell everyone, if they wanted to sign up for your courses or get hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Yes. So you can go to thequeenofconfidence.com. The Sisterhood is the actual course. So the Melbourne Sisterhood is going to open again, which is exciting because now we can have events.
I think I might have to come along.
I know, it's so much fun. I love these women. And then we do the online version as well. And I'm always on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as well, but really at
Instagram is your home.
On Instagram. Yeah. I'm just always there. Don't message me on Facebook because I never check Facebook Messenger.
Right.
It's too many things to do.
Yeah, no, I know. I think we all choose our platforms.
Yeah.
I'm a Facebook and LinkedIn girl, and I do not understand Instagram at all.
Oh, how funny. We have to talk then.
I know.
We can help and exchange.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
The podcast is really, they're 20 minutes. It's fantastic. So the Confidence Chronicles podcast, and it's just, we call them loving bitch slaps. You know, it's love.
So what is it? What's the idea behind it? Is it you on your own?
Yeah. So it's me. And then I sometimes do interviews, but it's me just doing short little, talking about big topics like how to stop caring what people think about you and how to stop being so insecure and all of that stuff. And it's kind of, everybody's like, it's like talking to my big sister, you know. I just kind of give you some tangible, actionable things and some love, but in a loving bitch slap way. So loving, caring for you, but also being like, hey girl, stop doubting yourself. That's a bunch of bullshit. Like, let's slap you out of that stuff. So it is and it's in my car most of the time. Sometimes I do it here when I do an interview, but I think it's very raw and real and to the point and no fluff. And I really think that the world has enjoyed that because there's so much perfection and, you know, I don't know. And it's just real and it's my heart to yours. It's free. You can literally change your life if you listen to it. If you have internet, I mean, you don't need to do anything. It's just about getting content that's supporting you or your YouTube channel, you know, things like that are free.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, brilliant. I hope you get inundated by people after this interview. So thank you so much. For those of you that have been watching, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please subscribe to the channel, like, comment, all those kind of things. If you want to know more about what we're doing, we've got the She's the Boss Chats podcast, which is on most channels, and I interview incredible women all the time. We've got 2 episodes that come out every week. We also run lunches for female founders, and you can find out all about it on she'stheboss.com.au. So I hope I'll see you for the next episode.